It was meant to be a casual trip to my local Walmart, but it turned into a night of terror, a night that still haunts me when I sleep alone at night. I was coming back from a long trip to see my parents. They live 3 states away, and it was the kind of thing that you would think to take a plane for, but I thought it would be fun to go on a road trip. It was just me and my dog Betty hitting the road. We pulled into the parking lot of a Walmart in my area. "Down, Betty, I'll be right back," I said to my dog, brushing her hair as I got out of the car and closed it behind me. I just needed a few things, and I didn't want to bring her in. I felt guilty for leaving her outside, but I knew she could be a menace whenever we went to places like this. I got into the store and realized there weren't a lot of people here. It was just myself, a couple, man and woman, the cashier, and someone far down that I hadn't bothered to look at. I made my way through the aisles, picking everything I needed as I was in a hurry to get back to Betty, who I knew would be barking up a storm in the car. I was pulling out dog food when a cart bumped into mine, and I turned around to see who it was. "Oh, sorry," the person quickly said, and I glanced at the man who I hadn't taken note of earlier. He was in his gym clothes. It wasn't much to look at, but I started feeling weird when he lingered near the aisle. I responded with a quick, "It's fine," and made my way to some other aisle. That weird feeling morphed into something else, and I groaned. I needed to pee. I rolled my cart to the cashier and let him know that I needed to use the bathroom. He nodded and pointed off to the left, and I made a dash for it. I knew I shouldn't have drank too much water on the drive back. I got into the restroom quickly, running into the woman's room, and found a stall to pee in. I shut the door behind me and went ahead with my business. It wasn't long before I heard the door to the woman's room swing open and footsteps followed. I paid no mind, thinking that it was the other lady in the store, but found myself feeling odd when the handle to my stall shook. "Occupied," I called out, sitting tight in the stall. I felt a bit of relief as whoever it was stopped trying, but the stall next to me opened and closed with a click. I wasn't the one to start a conversation, so I stayed silent, just scrolling through my phone when I got the odd urge to look around. It was really quiet in there for 2 women who were going about their business, and I turned my head in the direction of the other stall, and I screamed. The man from earlier was leaning over the next stall, looking into my stall with his phone in his hand. He must have been recording for a long time because it's been silent since he got into the stall. I screamed, and he just laughed, but he quickly got down when I heard noises from outside the stall. It was the cashier questioning the man, and then it was a series of punches. I opened the door and found the man lying on the floor, and the cashier standing over him as he yelled for me to call the cops. I dialed 911, and they didn't take more than 5 minutes to get there, and they got our statements. The cashier said he had checked out the couple and wondered why it was taking so long when he noticed the man moving towards the restroom. I wasn't sure how to feel, but I realized that situation could have been worse if he hadn't been there to help me. I couldn't stop thinking of what the alternative to my reality would have been. Working at Walmart helped pay the bills. I was fresh out of college and wasn't looking to do anything life-changing at the moment. My family didn't like that, but at least I found myself out of the house and not on the streets. The night shifts were always terrifying for a reason. I didn't know why, but I was going to find out sooner than later. I had always worked the day shifts, not because I didn't like working at night, but I was just used to them. That was about to change when one of our staff, an older lady named Jerry, was found dead in her home. I felt horrible, but I didn't know her that well. The best I could remember was that she was blonde and loved cats. I knew what she looked like, but as far as her life was involved, I didn't know her. My boss, however, did, and he was a little grieved. He didn't want to take in a new hire and offered to pay extra for anyone who could work her shift. I needed the cash at the time, and I didn't see it as a horrible idea, but I was so wrong. The first 2 nights weren't anything to worry about. I worked Monday night and then Thursday night. It gave me time to work my day shifts, and I got extra cash. It was a dream come true. Things changed on the third night. It was almost midnight, and closing time was drawing near. We had the job of moving some of the items off the shelves and floor into the back room. The place was only for employees. There wasn't really a door, more like a large opening and covered with these transparent polythene curtains. It wasn't a tasking job if you worked with the right people, but that night, I wasn't working with my usual crew. The boys had already moved the stuff they thought would count as enough work and went to the back of the building to smoke. I wouldn't consider myself a stellar employee, but I just wanted to do my job and get out of there, so I moved the other crates of items into the back room. Lost in my thoughts, having left my headphones at home, just through the entrance of the back room, I could see a figure standing in there, and for a split second, I thought it looked like Cherry. I blinked and the image was gone. I shrugged it off. Probably just fatigue. I had worked the day shift and now was doing a night shift. I was bound to be tired soon. I pushed the cart into the back room and began offloading things. To paint a picture, it's a pretty huge room with shelves that go all the way to the ceiling and rows of them to put things on. It was also quiet, which was why I didn't mind doing this part of my job. I made my way through the aisles, placing the boxes where they needed to go. I noticed it was colder than usual, but I didn't pay any attention to it. It was always cold here. I lifted a box, ready to set it aside when I heard something. It was the sound of footsteps making their way towards me. I wasn't sure of it at first, but the footsteps moved around the room and grew louder as they got closer. I figured it was one of the guys trying to prank me, something they were known for. Or they were just coming to let me know that they had moved some other things, and I could close the place. I bent down and looking through the gaps at the bottom of the shelves, hoping I'd catch a pair of boots, and found myself perplexed when I saw nothing. There were no boots, no shoes, nothing. "That's really funny, guys," I yelled out from the back and put the last boxes on the shelves before turning around. I got out of the aisle and I was rooted to the floor. Through the thin, transparent sheets of curtain that separated the back room from the rest of the store, I saw a tall figure pressing her face against the curtain, peering into the room. It looked just like Cherry, and I couldn't hold back my scream as it cut through my throat. It was loud. I closed my eyes, screaming, listening to the footsteps coming. I feared she was coming in and getting closer until I felt a hand on my shoulder. I jerked back, falling to the floor. I opened my eyes and I was staring at two of my coworkers. They had a look of concern on their face when they saw me and asked what happened. I looked around frantically, trying to search for what I had seen, but I could only find my coworkers in front of me. I shook my head, responding with a lie. I couldn't tell them that I had seen a ghost. They held me up and we closed the store together, walking me back to my car. I got in and drove off, but the thought of that lady, that thing still lingered in my head, and I knew I had to quit the night shift. This incident happened about a year ago when I went to Walmart to buy a gift for my niece, whose birthday was the next day. Everything was going smoothly. I went to the children's section, found a beautiful Barbie doll for her, and headed towards the counter. Ahead of me was a young, beautiful lady who was getting her items scanned. We exchanged polite smiles, but then suddenly an old lady came in between us, taking my space. It was wrong, but she was quite old, and I thought she might be in a hurry, so I kept quiet and let her go ahead. She was wearing a pink dress. She was quite overweight, and her skin appeared loose. A very bad smell emanated from her, and her face was full of wrinkles. Her teeth were yellow, and her whole appearance was quite scary. That was another reason why I didn't say anything to her. The lady was acting strangely. She started making comments on the woman ahead of her, calling her plastic, ugly, and other derogatory terms. Although the woman was quite beautiful, the old lady continued to pass her comments on her. The woman remained quiet and ignored her, but the old lady persisted. When it was her turn to pay, she chose to do it by cash, but the old lady even had a problem with that. She started saying things like, "Come on, why don't you pay by card and leave quickly? Why are you making others wait just because you don't have money? This place is not for poor people," and so on. When she was finally done, she was about to move, but that lady hit her trolley. The cashier requested that we not say anything to the old lady. However, what happened next was unexpected. She started behaving in the same way with the cashier, or maybe even worse, telling him to focus on her items, not on her appearance, and to scan them slowly so she wouldn't be charged double for the same things. Suddenly, she grabbed his arms and demanded, "Are you listening to me? Slow down." The cashier tried to get rid of her, but she wouldn't let him go. Despite his repeated requests, she refused to release her grip. Instead, she grabbed the cashier's shirt collar and pushed him. Then, she jumped on the table and started scattering things around, yelling that she demanded respect from everyone there and that no one could treat her like that. I had already called the cops, and they arrived shortly after. The lady was still acting the same way when they arrived. They told her to get down on her knees and stop behaving like that, and to come with them. However, she refused and even attacked one of the cops. They eventually managed to calm her down and took her away using handcuffs they had. It was the most uncomfortable event I had ever experienced in a popular store like Walmart. I don't know what was wrong with that lady, but she was definitely not normal.